No, I've not. I've genuinely not seen Obi-Wan.
Man, I thought Star Wars was like baseball in the 50s. Like everybody, I'm not going to eat gummy worms during the podcast.
No. Star Wars is like baseball now. Like, it's incredibly expensive. You know where the game's going. I don't drink anymore, so it's not that fun.
Episode 389 of the TV Dudes, recorded June 15th, 2022. That's quite the ensemble. This week, we've got some pretty interesting ensemble cast on a wide array of streaming services. There's the motley Canadian crew in Shoresy on Hulu, the sociopaths and almost-sociopaths on The Boys on Prime, and a bunch of chocolatiers on House of Chocolate on Netflix. Then, of course, we have the expansive cast of Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan Kenobi, both on Disney+. But before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And I'm Nick.
And we're the TV Dudes. TV Dudes Assemble. When's the last time we had all four of us in the same place?
At least 3 weeks ago, if not more.
Yeah. And, if y'all enjoyed last week's with Melissa Giramonti joining us, she is going to pop in from time to time.
Yay.
So we're excited to have her join us from time to time on the show. And, Les and I both had stuff going on last week. We've been out. Kyle has not always been able to make it and hasn't been able to participate in the cage match fully. But we're all here.
Ooh.
We're gathered together. We have our first patron show in a while. We're gonna do power rankings.
We've all seen the cage.
It's gonna be a big show. And let's start off.
A big show.
Let's start off with our TV diaries.
The Diaries of the Television Dudes. Brought to you by only the finest cocaine wine.
Les, you're a new guy back. Why don't you hit us with TV diaries?
Yeah, so I got to go to Hunt, Texas over the last 2 weeks and be in somebody's feature film, which was a freaking awesome experience. But I also didn't see a television turned on for like 2 weeks. So my
What
TV
did
diary
that
is
feel like?
it was luckily it was super busy, so I didn't really notice. I kind of looked up and went, "Oh shit, the world's been happening." So right before I went in for the movie, I had watched most of Shoresy and Stranger Things, which I know y'all discussed. We'll discuss Shoresy tonight.
I haven't discussed it though because I hadn't watched it when they talked about it.
You finised it though, right,
Yeah,
Randy?
I finished it out.
I mean, it's only 6 episodes.
Finally, you guys give your balls a tug.
So I love Shoresy, as we'll discuss. I loved this season of Stranger Things. I really like the way that it seems to be ramping up into horror as the kids get older. I like how the whole
behind. I'm 3 episodes behind.
Well,
I just asked you
it.
that.
When I said I was behind, I thought there were 8 episodes and I watched 7. And I was like,
I thought you were asking me if I watched Shoresy, all of Shoresy. I've watched all of Shoresy.
Oh.
Also watched a couple of nights on the movie set. The electrical department, lighting department set up a huge screen that they just built out of shit that was laying around on the lawn, and somebody broke out a really high resolution projector, and we watched a couple of movies. So I watched Josie and the Pussycats, which du jour means friendship.
woo, du jour.
Du jour means hygiene. And we also watched Memoria, which is a really long, very beautiful art movie with Tilda Swinton in it, and some of the best sound design I think I've like really creepy, especially sitting outside with the crickets helping out, but also exceptionally long. So I think a lot of folks kind of wandered in and out. But when I got back, I caught up on The Offer, which I believe has one more left this week.
Oh man, I'm behind, but I'm really enjoying it.
And because Fanny had now watched almost all of The Offer, and I mean, they're almost to the premiere, we watched The Godfather Part 1, which she had never seen.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit, does that, it's talking about long movies, this one holds up. I think because any given 45 minutes of The Godfather are like the height of the best movie you've seen. Like, you just keep checking in for crazy shit every hour. It's
Have I
great.
talked on this podcast about how I saw The Godfather the first time a few years back, like maybe a decade back?
No.
I put it out to my
Yeah.
friends. I was like, "Hey, I want to get together a group and watch The Godfather the first time." And does anyone know like what would you recommend for like an Italian feast? Because I knew there was a big like you're going to get hungry for Italian food in the middle of this movie. So my friend Kelly was like, "Oh, I'll cook for you." And so she made these like deep fried arancini balls and pasta and everything else, and this amazing Italian feast while we're watching The Godfather for the first time.
Man.
And if you have the
Whoa.
means, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Man, that's an
Yeah.
offer that you should not refuse. That is pretty good.
So that movie held up exceptionally well. Fanny loved it. Even so, I'm really amazed now looking back at it how well the offer shows all these behind the scenes things without actually spoiling The Godfather.
Yeah.
Because she was completely caught off guard with the car explosion in
Mhm.
Italy.
Mhm.
And I realized that she had watched the entire sequence of doing that in the offer without realizing who's in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And was just like hand over her mouth. I was like, oh shit, it's all work. It was really fun seeing a movie completely work for somebody and just like, oh shit, now you love The Godfather. That's great.
Nice.
Caught up on Soups and Lois, which has some really great moments. They're doing a weird Bizarro World Parasite combo thing that's building to a head. I think they have one more episode. Watched because of an interview with the principal and mom of the show. I watched a new Disney Plus series, Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion. I think it's also on Disney Channel. It feels like early aughts. I mean, fun, energetic, goofy sitcom. Girl finds a magical luchador mask and gains super speed powers, and starts bothering like the actual powered hero in town. It's pretty cute. And if you're, I would say if you're enjoying Miss Marvel and younger and love goofy Disney Channel sitcoms, Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion's really fun.
Okay.
School of Chocolate, which we watched for Patreon. I am with Kyle. He mentioned earlier, I think that I thought that was an anime, and I'm so happy it was not. Really enjoying that. And then
But your
Jiu-Jitsu.
chocolate powers are not as good as my chocolate powers.
Why do you say that you will use chocolate powers? That is only white chocolate.
And now you're going to get all excited when we watch Food Wars, only to realize that is an anime.
Oh, god damn it. I just want to watch this slime cooking show that you keep talking about. No, and then I also watched Jiu-Jitsu, which we will discuss. And that's about it.
All right. What about you, Nick?
Oh, well, yeah, we only had the time to watch Jiu-Jitsu together with Les, so we didn't watch anything
Yeah,
else.
y'all are spared for now.
And we definitely, by the time we were ended, like, well, Randy hasn't watched this yet, so we should definitely remind the crew that we're watching it this week, because we would have known if he was watching it. And sure enough,
I did not have I did not need a reminder. I knew. It's like when you see that light coming down a tunnel at you. That's what jiu-jitsu was for me. I knew it was coming for me. I knew it was coming. I didn't need a
Right.
reminder.
You could hear the whine of the bomb.
I finally finished off Young Justice for this season, just to really do it. Not because it doesn't really. There's not enough episodes to like save itself by the end of it, you know, to pull out. But it's wow. I don't know, man. I want to go to Greg Wiseman and go, "What's up with you this year? Something going on in your
You
life?
okay, bud?
Why is this trash? Like you are a way better writer than this. I know that for sure. Like you make way better shows than this." I was telling Les, like, okay, so the Kryptonians go over to Superman's Fortress of Solitude. There's 2 rogue Kryptonians, and they were just on a red sun, so they need to charge up with sun powers. So Superman has these things that charge up with sun energy for like no reason. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand why he has one of those, but let me ask you this. Why does he have 2? So that the 2 villains can conveniently do this. This is terrible. This is terrible writing. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty disappointing. I don't know. Hopefully they tease stuff at the end like a evil Mary Marvel, which I hate. So I'm like, oh great, that's coming up still. And they tease Supergirl, which is, you know. And then I watched The Offer, kept up on that. And I actually watched an episode or two of the first season of Stranger Things, just because I was kind of in the mood for it again. Which just seeing those kids as youngins, how much they've grown. And then I watched My First Kill, which was on Netflix, which is a odd little show about a vampire and a vampire hunter like proving themselves by like killing their first either human or monster. And they fall in love. It's a Romeo and Juliet thing. And the tone of the show is really weird. It's like Buffy, but like it's like Disney Channel level villains. Like it looks like Goosebumps monsters, right? But then that Goosebumps monster takes this kid's spine out of him and rips it out. and with blood and gore, and I was like, what the It's just like if R.L. Stein lost his goddamn mind.
Like which direction did you misunderstand the assignment? What was the point? Like what show did you try to make?
Well, and then one of the younger hunters sees both her parents killed by having a spear drive and both through them hitting a tree. And like, okay, so your parents just died in front of you, but also we're gonna go to school and check out the Romeo and Juliet play that we're building because we can't do subtlety on this in any way. It's interesting though.
I think Shudder could do a kids section. I think they can make it work.
That,
you put that
Kyle,
in there.
That's pretty.
You put other.
That's pretty. It does feel like if Shudder had a kids, like
yeah, but now I want Shudder kids. Like give me Skids right now.
It's called Skids.
But the monsters are neat, and there's a lot of blood and goo, and the choreography isn't bad for the fights. It's just I have no idea what the show is going for tone-wise in any given moment. It feels very light most of the time until like you realize, oh yeah, like a shit ton of people have died on this show. And I think most of our main characters are murderers. But you know, I guess we're having fun.
Like American Psycho boarding school.
Anyway, that was my TV diaries.
All right. I watched. I'm on to season 9 of my Seinfeld rewatch, which is slowly moving along. I watched. I caught up on a bunch of stuff this week. I caught up on Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, which had 2 really good back-to-back episodes: the Spock-a-muck and the surprisingly dark thing with the kids. Really liked both those episodes. Caught up on Better Call Saul, which I watched episodes 6 and 7. And discovered that AMC Plus, that if you're not fast enough, they will take the shows off, even though it's their goddamn shows. I don't understand it at all.
Oh yeah, I remember they used to do that with the previous seasons of Breaking Bad.
By 2 days, I almost missed an episode of Better Call Saul. I would have been so pissed off. But I did catch up. I watched episodes 6 and 7. They're coming back on July 11th, the rest of it. And 7 is an evil fucking cliffhanger. I mean, just really fucking vicious. I also caught up on Barry season 3, the last 3 episodes of that, and Jesus Christ, also evil. Like, I don't know where they go from here. They turned down the comedy and turned up the darkness real high on that show, and it's really compelling.
Yay.
And I watched, I've 1 episode left of Girls 5 Eva, which I'm also really enjoying, although so much of that is because of the songs. The music is so good. And then, other than that, it was all homework for me, guys. So, Kyle, I know what you're going to talk about. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Just tell us. Go ahead and tell us.
So I have 2. I was going to spare you and say I'll only talk about one of them, but your alternative to Grand Prix, it's not much better, guys.
Let's have it anyway.
No, I'll be quick. This weekend was
Oh, so you're gonna offer the alternative and then not give it to us?
You didn't bite hard enough. Do you really want the alternative, Nick?
I would love to not talk about fucking cars, Kyle. I don't know if I can stress that enough.
I want to say 2 things. 1, I also want the alternative. 2, I almost think we should do a spin-off podcast of Kyle talks about racing and Nick objects in the most strenuous of terms because I listened to last week's episode and I was fucking dying, especially because I knew it was coming before Nick knew it was coming or before he said anything. I'm like, you're talking about racing, Kyle. I know you're talking about racing.
Guys, the stories are compelling. It's like the Hunger Games on wheels. I'm going to get you there. All right. Give me time.
How are you always talking about fucking race? Isn't there an off season for these fucking cars?
It's real short.
It's either rubbing or racing, Nick.
It's like when the Christmas specials come out, there's no racing, and then it's like a preseason. All right. So we're not going to talk about Baku or Azerbaijan or any of the stuff. But no, the other thing this week, and it's not really a TV show. I know F1's kind of already cheating. But have you guys heard of Davey 504, the bass guy?
Kyle, you know we've not.
Like, I guess it's nice you ask us, but
Yeah.
I mean,
like you don't want to assume, but honestly, you
honestly,
can.
I did not know if we were about to be talking about a musician or a fishing thing.
The bass guy.
Me neither. I'm
This
looking
is a
at the
fisherman's Twitch channel, isn't it?
Tell me he's slapping a bass and he lures the fish right into the boat.
I know this is on YouTube, isn't it? It's on fucking YouTube, Kyle.
It's on YouTube.
God damn it.
And this
Watch
fucking
TV,
guy-
God damn it!
Nick, you have no
I don't
room to
time.
talk. How many bad movies are you subjecting us to every time we do
I
this?
also watch TV. Fuck.
I got
Oh,
jujitsu
shit.
in this week. I was really
I have
proud
actually
of that.
seen one of his videos. I'm sorry, Kyle. I just didn't know who he was. Now I'm looking at a picture of him, and yep, he like pays a bunch of people on Fiverr to play impossible shit, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, let me explain his shtick. So he is just like a stone cold robot giving cold, like calculated expressions, and his only directive is he loves bass and guitar sucks and bass is the best and everything's bass. And it's really funny, but then he plays his bass and he's fucking awesome. Like he's really good at bass. So he does a bunch of stuff, but the thing Les was talking about is he will go on Fiverr and find bass players and pay them to play something that would be impossible for him to play. And then he just like he says, I have to destroy them. Like it is such a hilarious shtick. And yeah, he's just slapping the bass, slapping the audience.
Okay, well, that sort of makes me actually more interested is that I must destroy them, because now you're making me think of a Rocky IV situation where there's an Ivan Drago bass player.
So the guy's Italian, so his English is, it's kind of robotic like that. Like he doesn't sound Russian, but
It's got a very Sacha Baron Cohen bass player vibe.
oh, he looks a lot like Sacha Baron Cohen. If he slapped the bass. But yeah, like he'll be like, this person's playing bass. They use a pick. Picks are bad. I've just remembered we're not on a video podcast. That's the thing. His thing would not work audio wise. It's his kind of like robotic expressions. I'm not selling this well. You just got to trust me. It is.
I
will get
don't
you
know
into
how you
bass
could
guitar.
sell it well.
It's Bob Evans' pitch in Chinatown.
It's about water, you see? It's water.
I appreciate that you think there's any way that you're going to talk us into either this or Grand Prix F1. Neither of those things are happening, but I love the optimism. I do. I love it.
Could you
There is
please
one little.
tell us about something that has a story? Like, good lord.
Well, just if I could put a little pinch of F1 in there. Have you?
Nope,
seen it
we already
when
said that this was the alternative. We already did the alternative.
I'll give you a parachute, like a pull cord you can rip.
No,
I'll just
you're cutting off my parachute right now.
soccer. When those guys like they do the dive and they pretend like they're hurt. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've
So
seen that,
you
right?
thought
This ain't
that the
F1 yet.
way to get to me now is to talk about fucking soccer?
I'm trying to get it in whatever angle I can here. All right. Oh, it's like we're sumo wrestlers, but you're your size and I'm like a sumo wrestler guy size. There's not a lot of ways that I can get in there.
Kyle,
bud.
please stop using sports analogies. It hurts me.
You know sumo wrestlers.
How do you relate it to Pogs, Kyle? Can you relate it to Pogs?
to Pogs? But no, there's teams want to get the cars changed, so the drivers are saying, "Oh, ow, my back. I'm going to have serious back issues." But it's really just because they want to make it to where the faster cars have to adjust their cars so their shit won't mess with their back. It's pretty gnarly.
So they fake a back injury, is what you're saying?
Well, that's what people are speculating. But what's happening is the cars, because they're now low on the ground,
Oh, my
are
back,
making the
Kyle.
guys
No, I
bounce.
can't hear any more about Formula One. My back, though.
I'm sorry.
Oh boy,
Let's
I
just
really pulled
setting my back
something
off.
here.
Oh, every time I hear the words
Less than Nick's
F1,
backs have
oh.
gone on. I'm afraid we are going to have to.
God.
We're gonna have to cut off the F1 for time.
People are going to think that was a bit. It really
I think I
happened.
slipped a disc.
All right, Kyle, it's time to divert over to power ranking.
Feel the music.
I can't believe we did a whole podcast alone together.
It was glorious. I enjoyed the hell out of that podcast.
I think I blacked
Y'all
it
are
out of my
like-
memory. I don't remember
you're like-
nothing of this.
It's like the fucking Odd Couple. It was delightful.
There is a unique thing. Like, I enjoy the four of us, but it's definitely different when it's three, and it is way different when it's just two of us.
Oh, yeah. It feels like there's no rules when there's just two people on.
Yeah, definitely did.
You
Y'all,
could just
I usually-
scream for an hour and call it a night.
y'all grabbed two shows that I didn't want you to talk about, and you fucking talked about them. you shit talked me the whole time like you didn't think I was going to be listening.
No,
That's how we
Kyle
know
should
you'll
talk to you like
listen.
you think he wasn't listening. I should talk to you like I think you were
You
listening.
knew I was going to listen.
I
yes,
know you
that's-
listen to the weeks you're not there, Randy.
Yeah, it's like getting a TV dude that I'm not on. It's glorious.
All right. Well, you guys want to talk some numbers?
Let's talk
about
numbers. Let's talk power ranking.
I know Nick wants to talk math.
Dude,
Let's go with
anything at this point. If it's not cars, if the numbers aren't on the side of cars, let's do it.
So, Kyle, am I correct that our bottom five did not change? Right? Thankfully, nothing so terrible came along and broke into our bottom five.
Actually, how we roll. When was that? This last batch?
That was in
Or
that was in the previous.
That was a
bottom five,
while
I'm pretty
ago.
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I may have
So-
taken out some aggression on the bottom of the rankings.
So I think you can just roll down. You can just roll how we roll the bottom five.
No, I
we've all
switched
talked
out
about it in previous
because
weeks.
the how we roll before it didn't come up in the rankings because I put less than 0, but I
Mhm.
updated it to 0 so that it would affect the actual algorithm.
But I also lowered from 1 to 0, and so I think
And I also lowered my how we roll. And the only thing keeping how we roll from the very bottom is that Kyle hadn't watched it, and so it's got the internet aggregate of 5.2.
yes.
5.2
anyway,
is
what's-
the internet's version of a 1 or a 0.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, it is.
And it may be the lowest thing. It's close
Kyle,
to the
I will
lowest thing on
stake
here.
our friendship on it being lower than that. You don't need to watch it. Just
Yeah, but
believe
you should
me.
definitely lower that number. Kyle,
I gotta
what's our bottom five?
Bottom five, we have 74 shows. So if you go in order from 69, math, no,
Nice.
70. Life and Beth over on Hulu's there. 71 is that How We Roll that we were just talking about. Keeping with the How theme shows, 72 is How I Met Your Father.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 73 is that Naomi show. That was the one I kind of hate.
Mm-hmm.
Watched this year. And then 74 is Welcome to Flatch.
Welcome to Flash. I'm looking at it and it's 1011. It's like reading in binary. It's great. We
Mhm.
all
The-
fucking hated
Yeah.
that show.
I hate that people worked on that, and some of them probably tried. And they were watching dailies and they were laughing at themselves.
Oh, thousands of people worked very hard on those bottom 5 shows to produce absolute shit.
Oh, my heart's breaking. And I hope they don't listen to our podcast.
I hope they do.
Dude, those guys got paid way before we even
Dude.
watched it. They're fine.
Yep.
So we did not have any traction in the top 5, but if you extend it to the top 10,
Yep.
we have a new number 9 and a new number 10.
All right.
Really?
What are those? What are those?
Actually, could I start at number 12? Because our 12 through 9 is all new shows that we've
sure.
watched.
Why not? We're
Mhm.
breaking all the rules.
Interesting.
Why not?
Yeah, let's do it. So number 12 is, well, actually, technically number 13 is that Kids in the Hall over on Prime.
Kyle's gonna keep extending. Number 28.
Number
Okay.
42.
Everything from 50 below, though, is pretty interesting.
We got to mention this one show that we talked about like 2 cycles ago. Kids in the Hall is 13. Then number 12 on the list is Miss Marvel.
By the way, I'm
over on
editing
Disney
that
Plus.
right now because you have it as Mrs. Marvel, and that girl is 16. She is not married.
That's why I had trouble
Only
finding
because
it on
she's
Disney
trouble.
Plus.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Ms. Marvel.
Only because she's trouble, Randy.
I always mess that up. Number 11 is The Offer on Paramount Plus, which is awesome. I'm
Yeah,
really
makes
digging
sense.
that. Number 10, Stranger Things season 4 part 1 over on Netflix. And then number 9 is Girls 5 Eva on
Wow.
Peacock.
Girls 5 Ever is really hanging in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Out of all those shows, like a lot of them make sense, but Girls 5 Ever is like a real surprise whenever I hear it on the, because I really do enjoy that show a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ranked it higher than the rest of us.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think for what it's doing,
is. It's really
Mhm.
good.
I think it's a better Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, honestly, and I liked Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
I agree.
Yeah.
Also, none of these numbers on here surprise me because it's all of us doing the numbers. So I feel like I already have a gauge on what you guys are going to think about something. So when I see where something's at, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
And as I compare us to internet ratings, the internet ratings would be a different top 10, but we're not super far off from where the internet is as I look at these. There's one or two where like we are ranking like a couple shows higher.
Yeah, but it's like within a 2-point threshold.
But like Girls 5 Eva
all
is
of
one of
them.
those. Girls 5 Eva is a internet average is 7.8. Our average is 8.7.
Not terribly off. Yeah, our top 10s are all pretty consistently well ranked. It's not like we definitely hate some shows that have like a 7-point rating somehow on the internet, but we don't love any shows that have like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, it seems.
Here, I'll run through the rest of the list for people keeping score at home. Just kind of quick here. Number 8 is Yellow Jackets on Showtime. Number 7 is Cobra Kai Season 4 on Netflix. Number 6, The Bust Down Season 1 on Peacock. Number 5, Severance on Apple Plus. I haven't finished that yet. I am looking forward to it. Number 4 is The After Party on Apple Plus.
That is maybe the biggest divergence. We got ours is a 9.1. Internet average is 7.2, and the Bust Down is a 7.7 or 8.8.
The After Party is fucking amazing.
It's great. It's one of the best shows on TV this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like people aren't aware of it. Same with Bust Down. I bet people aren't watching it. I think Apple Plus and Peacock don't quite have that. Other than like Ted Lasso, they haven't gotten that mass appeal just yet.
That's what screwed us on the old power rankings when we'd use the internet numbers, because some stuff would only have like 6 reviews because nobody watched it.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to be kind of a weird score. Number 3, I feel like this was, well, I guess number 1's different, but I feel like number 3, Better Call Saul, it's like sat in that spot previous years.
Yeah.
This time it's season 6 that's sitting in that spot. Number 2, Atlanta, season 3 on FX. I know that's been top 5 in years past. And then number 1, and honestly, I think about this show every time I do my power rankings, like in terms like, is it better than Peacemaker on HBO Max, our number 1 show? And I feel like I do gauge a lot of what we watch on whether it's, kind of up there. But that was like good appointment TV. That
Peacemaker's flawless television for me.
Yeah.
Peacemaker is
I had a lot of feels in there.
It's what we wanted out of Gun when we heard Gun Suicide Squad.
It is. There is only one show I rank higher than Peacemaker this year, and one I rank with it. And one of those shows we're going to talk about this week.
Ooh, spoiler. Or no, foreshadowing. Foreshadowing.
Okay, I guess I lied. There are 2 shows I rank with Peacemaker. Okay, I lied. There's 5 shows I rank with Peacemaker. As I look at my numbers, I'm like, God damn it!
Well,
if you don't give anything a fucking 10, Randy,
I gave one thing a 10
9.
this week. I gave one thing a 10 this week.
You did? Oh wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I did.
I'll give you 3 guesses, Nick.
I broke up my 10s.
All right, we're looking at Randy's list real quick. I'm pulling it up.
I already gave you all the clues. It's a show we're talking about this week. Anyone who knows me should know. Come on.
God, now. I knew House of Chocolate was going to get you.
Refresh.
It was Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu. Even though it's a movie, I put it in here at 10.
Gets a 10. Well, here's the other thing. The show just started. It could change over the course of the season. They could jump the shark, as they say.
They could. I don't think it's very likely. All right, this is probably a good place to remind you that you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us a buck an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with our streaming services, pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, back into the cage match as we talk about Jiu-Jitsu, which is somehow worse than all the other movies we've watched so far.
Shockingly enough.
I think there might have been one that was worse, but I also haven't watched all of them.
We also have our $20 showrunner level, so if there are shows you want us to throw in rotation, you can buy it at that level. Give us a couple of ideas. We've been trying to get it. This week we finally managed. We're going to, courtesy of our patron Max, who's very patient, we're starting off with House of Chocolate. And let's just segue right in there. Let's talk about House of Chocolate, guys.
So I thought it was going to be an anime, and I was really not looking forward to it, coming back off not having watched any television in weeks, and there's, a backlog of television, and I was like, no, I should be responsible and watch House of Chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's live action, and it's competitive in that it's sort of competitive, kind of like a PBS show almost. Like, yes, there's a prize, but also all these people are genuinely there to learn from this French weirdo. I really dug it.
Yeah, I like that half of it was like, no, but show me how you fucking did that, you psycho. Idiot.
Competitive chocolate sculpting YouTube sensation weirdo with like hair glued down to his head. and I love that he just like every episode starts with him.
No, I'm pretty sure that hair was sculpted out of chocolate, right?
It is. It's white chocolate faux hair. If you crack him open, the flavors are surprising.
A chocolatier, you'd expect to be a big fat guy. He's eating a lot of chocolate. Skinny guy comes in, tells you, here's how you make chocolate. You're like, you don't need chocolate.
He's immaculately clean. Like, it's all so perfect.
Like, why are you don't got the apron? Like, what's going on here?
No, I love that all these people have been to culinary school and are good at their stuff, and they're being shown something like it's a magic trick. It's like being called into Penn and Teller or something like. These are things that pastry chefs keep secret from each other.
Yeah.
I love that there's a former stripper on there, and she told the people who made this show that.
Yeah. So this to me, it felt like every reality show I've seen. It's like, here's the character, here's the people, here's their stories, here's the crazy challenges, and it was impressive and all. But I gotta admit, guys, I didn't get past the first episode on this. I was like, okay, Randy, got it.
I was the same way. I quit halfway through the first episode. I'm like, okay, this isn't for me. And then for whatever reason, I put on in the background, like when I was doing something else, didn't pay attention for another episode. But then the third episode kind of caught me, and I finished the damn thing.
Okay, all right. So how does it progress?
And I still don't know if I liked it that much, but I definitely I was intrigued.
Well, something about this that isn't the traditional reality show format is they're not voting people off, which I don't know if that's nicer or meaner.
Well, for some of them, it's meaner because the person you fuck over is going to stay around.
Yeah. There's times where one team is like, well, we're all the people that were at the bottom last week, so we've all got a chip on our shoulder and something to prove. And
Melissa is out of her team, has to fire one of the other teams and fires Juan or whatever, which was oh, well, that's my main competition, so he's fucking gone.
Yeah.
And they ended up on the finalists together, so that was some animosity. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking get you back, bitch. I remember that shit.
It is really baller that this guy not only is so willing to give all this knowledge to them, but I mean, they're making a TV show. Really, he wants anybody with a Netflix account to be able to go on there and learn how he makes his chocolate stuff. And it's such a baller move because it's like, yeah, I can show you how to do it, but if you're not a perfect sculptor like me, your shit isn't going to look, you still have to be really good. Just now, you already have sculpting skills. Here's how to do it with chocolate.
Yeah, I found it interesting that it's like he shows them how to do it, and then you watch them just not quite have the art imagination bit right.
Well, they that blowing a bubble in sugar was it looked like sorcery. Like he was over a puzzle, and they were all some of that one woman couldn't get an apple together for the entire 4 hours she worked on it. Just kept cracking 7 apples. And then I do love that when they're on teams, they get to pick. And I love that anytime it was a sculpting challenge, it's I get Daniel.
Yep.
Daniel's mine. Because there's one of the guys in there is a way better sculptor than everybody else, but he's weaker on the pastry stuff, on the actual cooking side of it.
Well, and I also wonder how much of that is he has the best looking stuff, we have to be critical about something so he doesn't get a chip on his shoulder. So
Well,
maybe they're the most
I'm
critical.
surprised how much they talked about how it actually tasted afterwards.
Well, he makes them try it too, which I was impressed by, like a judge on a show of like, he's eating it and he'll criticize it. And then he'll go, no, you take a bite of that and like, and tell me do you taste what I'm talking about? Right. Like for me, anytime that they step into that educational space of like showing these pretty egotistical chefs in their own right, how to do something and like watching them deal with that, that's super cool to me. And anytime it veers into normal reality show competition, it would start to lose me. And so I realized I think I'm halfway through, but I started to realize that what I really want is to watch a show where they fuck it up 50 times or whatever. And like you watch that person eventually be able to blow that bubble with sugar every fucking time. But like you got this montage of just spectacular failure. but like show me, let me see him get it. Like, let me see him work on it like it's school.
Yeah, because there's only a couple of them that totally eat shit on some of the challenges. Which, I forget which one. Who are the two that worked on the Christmas tree? That was an entire shit show.
Yeah, and like early on, there was that flashlight and the rolling pin. Neither one of those looked good at all. Like every once in a while, you just see people could totally miss what they were going for, but not horribly. Like it's not nailed it.
Well, I mean, just a comparison to everyone else there,
Yeah.
There's something really interesting about seeing how someone fails. And I could tell from listening to the guy that like he really hones into that. Like when somebody fucks up, he goes over to them and he's like, what are you going to do now? Like, don't stand around, like keep moving. Like, how do you, what's your next move? And so I forget the point I was trying to make with that, but I do think that just the personality on the show is completely different than all the other kind of like reality type competition shows. Kind of the same reason why Lego Masters and Making It work is because they brought on this unique personalities. This is
remind me of Lego Masters a bit.
Different end of the
spectrum. Or Great British Bake Off, kind of like it. Yeah, it's a competition, but also we want you to learn to make this tart.
Yeah.
It
was a sweet show, and I think it's better than every anime we've ever watched.
See what you did there.
Let's go a different direction. Let's talk about The Boys Season 3, which I gotta tell you guys, I loved that the opening, like previous seasons.
And as part of my not being in the world for the last 2 weeks, I've not seen a stitch of The Boys Season 3 yet. Okay. And so I'm going to step off for a moment.
Okay. All right.
I'm surprised Les cares enough to actually want to not get spoiled on it. I didn't know he liked The Boys that much.
Well, the thing is, The Boys, as the comic, The Boys is terrible.
Oh, I hate it. It's so weird that The Boys should not be this good. It's insane.
And I honestly think it's Eric Kripke. I think that you bring on the guy from Supernatural, and he
must
gave
be
it a little bit, but also the actors. I mean, the guy playing Homelander is playing him as the most dangerous psychopath, and yet you're like, I see how people think he's so charismatic.
So good. You can definitely tell, like, he has that psychotic, like, don't be in a room alone with him, but also you understand why people worship him.
Yeah, it's a hell of an act. It's a hell of a balancing act.
Him and Carl Urban in the same room is always watchable.
Yeah. I love that the opening for this season of previously on, they really emphasized how much they love to explode people. Like they're like, look, this is what the show is. If you don't want to watch this, you don't want to watch the show. And then they double down on it because the first thing that happens is that a man explodes a man from inside after climbing inside his dick and sneezing. So yeah, this is what the show is, and you better be on board.
I started a new job recently, and me and the guy I work with will talk TV. And before I saw it, he explained to me in vivid detail this whole like shrink down, climb into the dick scene. And I was just like, oh, it's that kind of job. Like
Kyle,
we could have that conversation.
You need to go to HR right now.
Yeah, you need to talk to HR rep on that.
Oh man. But yeah, no, the memes, I don't know how you could have escaped the memes.
I really liked where they set up, like Huey is like, he's got the office job, he's got the superhero girlfriend, he has made it, and it looks like
he's got his shit together.
Butcher and those guys, yeah, and then of course we find out that he doesn't, that he's been duped this whole time.
the scariest thing is that he's been duped this whole time, and they keep losing against Vaughn because Vaughn just keeps making the game more complex. And then he says something to Butcher that I know, even if it's true, definitely don't say it to him. He says, "No, you were right. Let's do it your way." And I was like,
never
no.
tell that guy he was right. No, he is.
Even if it's true, never tell him, because that shit's gonna go really wrong.
Yeah,
I found it hard to believe that Butcher was willing to play by Huey's rules to begin with. Like, that was kind of a surprising character turn for me, because he just seemed so unhinged the previous seasons.
but it was because of his son.
I think, well,
it was
they
because
bring
of the
they bring up
kid.
the son
The
thing
deal?
of like he was trying to be better to be because he thought it was peacetime, like they said. Like, okay, well, I can't get Homelander, but I am helping. Like they said, like superheroes collateral damage is down 60%. So he thinks that, while not maybe a total win, he thinks things are all right. So he kind of wants to like see if he can be a regular dad. But then when he realizes shit's gone, he's like, "Oh, I can be a monster again. Awesome, I'm in it."
Well, the fucked up theme of this entire thing is that things don't actually get better. They're actually worse than they appear, because the woman who's running the superhuman thing is actually a terrible person and a murderess. Huey's job is bullshit. Starlight's thing, where she thinks she's getting co-captain, is actually worse. Maeve's life is worse. Even the Nazi girl is worse. Like, everybody's life is worse than they think it is. Mother's Milk thinks he's gotten out and is like raising his kid, but he rolls right back into it. Like, everybody's life is worse. Frenchie and his former boss, they get dragged back into working with her. Like, everyone's life is worse. The Deep and his fucking cult wife crazy thing going on. Everything is worse.
Vow.
Everything is worse for everyone. And
when did she become a master manipulator?
I mean, she was in a cult. So
right, I know where she learned it, but suddenly, like, she's running the Deep. Like, she's just texting him words to say.
But the thing is, Deep has always been a moron. It fits right in with what we've known of him. He's a moron, and he has no spine.
I think that's why I don't hate I don't hate the Deep as much as other characters, because he's just fucking stupid.
Yeah,
he did do like a pretty vicious sex crime in the first season.
They made the Deep pretty awful.
He's nowhere near the most hated person on the Seven for me.
I love what they're doing with their knockoff Captain America, Soldier Boy. Jensen Ackles is playing him as the perfect psychotic. Yeah, he's great. The whole Vietnam flashback thing was great. And I really like not Guillermo del Toro, fucking what's the head of Vought, Gus Fring.
Yeah,
he is great.
Giancarlo
Esposito. He is killing it this season. He's doing a great job on this, and I think he has not had a really great role since Fring, and this is on the same level of like the master manipulator who's in charge of things.
He has a great speech of where he's like, "Oh, I fixed the superhero problem. The problem wasn't the powers; it was the people. Like, we'll make the powers temporary so that they keep having to, so that no one's a fucking like invincible Homelander and they're dependent on us."
You know, it'd be a really cool story if that technology existed. Like, if you were on the battlefield and you got injured, somebody could be like, "All right, you got two options. You're either probably going to die because of this thing, or we can give you the superhero stuff, but then you got to go out there and, zap people with laser eyes."
I also, the scene with Homelander and the suicidal girl on the roof, that was so tense and awful, because you knew from the moment he landed and was so unstable, you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
You just had to watch it happen.
Homelander, you thought he was crazy before. He is fucking unhinged this season.
Yeah, it turns out becoming the boyfriend of a Nazi publicly made things worse for him.
Yeah.
He's just a human, he met a bad person, like how they're trying to spin the PR.
And no one has as much control as they think they do. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, everyone feels like they're on top for a little bit, but then get struck down.
Yeah, Starlight and Vought, but they both think that they've got him. They both think, okay, well, I know how to this guy's pretty simple. But the thing is, he gets to a point where his childish anger acts out, and it seems to always work out. The thing that he gives that speech of like, "I'm better than all of you," and his rating goes up with all the white
Up.
middle-aged men. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, fuck, that's so accurate. God damn it. That is exactly what would happen.
And it gave him the wrong idea of like, oh, people want me to be
Yeah.
what I am. Like,
Yeah.
that was not. And
Oh,
everyone keeps thinking, I think they think he's stupid. And which is an easy assumption to make because he's childish. And you figure, like,
Yeah.
childish
Yeah.
stupidity comes with childishness.
Yeah.
But no, he's devious. He is very
Mm-hmm.
clever. He does a lot of behind the scenes stuff when he doesn't have to. He could walk into a room and just destroy stuff. But he does
Yep.
a lot of subtle shit throughout this season to get
Yeah.
shit to go his way.
Yeah, he's not stupid. He is just immature.
Yeah.
And also a fucking sociopath.
I could totally see him being a president in the boys' universe.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Nobody on the road, nobody on the beach. I feel it in the air, but someone's out of reach. Empty lake, empty streets, the sun goes down low. Driving by your house, though I know you're not home. I can see you, your brown skin shining in the sun. You got your hair pulled back and your sunglasses on, baby. I can tell you my love for you will still be strong after the boys of summer have gone.
Let's move on. We done with the boys. We'll move on to Shoresy,
Yeah.
which I know you guys have talked about, but I know that Les.
I'll give those balls another tug.
I know that Les is going to want to weigh in on Shoresy, and I know that I do. So yeah, let's talk about Shoresy.
Oh,
Les.
I mean, I love to win, but more importantly, I also hate to lose. That's why I'm never gonna lose again.
This podcast will never lose again.
Oh, that was spot on.
Fuck, I'm surprised we're not watching Shoresy right now. I love this. It's more Letterkenny, but a different permutation of all the jokes. And honestly, I was so stunned that they took such a your mama joke of a fucking side character
Mm-hmm.
and built
Mhm.
a show with every bit as much heart as any season of Letterkenny. I
Yeah.
I fell in love with this show without
Yeah.
using any of the same characters other than Shoresy.
But it feels like Letterkenny.
It feels like Letterkenny. The pattern's
a-
all different, but it all works the same.
I mean, y'all
The
talked
speed's
about
the
this on
same.
last week. The his reverse chirping where he's every time he's talking to the reporter,
Yeah.
and basically just talking about how good he'd be to her, and she clearly is just used to it and brushes it off and
Yep.
enjoys it. Like that is all super fun.
Also, his consistent, like, yeah, you're a little young for me. She's a little young. Yeah, she's a little young.
Yeah,
No matter how old the woman seems to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
25 or 30 at least. And he's like, yeah, if give it another 10 years, maybe.
also that he's like coaching youth hockey, and that they all shit on him the way he shits on the two boys back
Yep.
at Letterkenny. Like,
Yeah.
I
Oh.
wasn't sure this was gonna work because one of the gags of Shoresy is that we don't see him.
Yeah.
But then they open with him coming out, and we're like, okay, it's just gonna be Shoresy now. Okay,
Well-
got it. Yeah,
Okay, so realizing that basically they told every single cast member in a Canadian show to take out their one missing tooth or to take out their partial. And they all just did. And this
Yeah,
is what you get
yeah.
because none of that shit's fake. Every one of
Yep.
those people is missing one tooth somewhere. And I love the waitress that constantly gives them shit of
Mm-hmm.
like, that spitter better not be on the table and put your fucking partials back in.
It is.
I love the entire cast. I love the three women running things, and the sequence of them talking to the league that's also run entirely by women. This is one of the things that Letterkenny does is it subverts this whole notion of like boys will be boys, rural.
Yeah, and her mother
right-wing
left her
shit.
that team too.
They're all it's feminist as fuck at the same time as it is like just guys being utter douchebags.
Them just weirdly owning the like Sudbury does have a disproportionate population of attractive women.
Yeah, they just straight up like just that's canonically like
Like that's the one thing everyone in Canada apparently knows about. So, like even like when they do their fake
Sudbury.
ESPN, like yeah, Sudbury. Oh yeah, no, they've got a lot of attractive women up at Sudbury, and it's weird. Yeah,
Thanks, Jake Unray.
But yeah, they build up all this in 6 episodes. They build this all up. They set up recurring jokes. It's always funny. It's got the same like I say, the same pattern as Letterkenny. The bit toward the end where Big Sexy, his parrot, just keeps saying tit fucker, and he keeps chiding the parrot for it.
Big Sexy.
It shouldn't be funny 20 times, but it is.
But it is.
And then one of the women, I think it's the woman who calls him Big Sexual,
Yeah.
which is even funnier.
Because she says it in French, big sexual. What?
The 3 gems. Oh,
The
they
3
are
gems.
beauties. They are just
The gems are
absolute beauties.
Yeah, yeah.
They look ravishing.
The drumstick thing, the drumstick runner, which is just nonsense.
Sticks are unbelievable.
Oh, the game stick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the game stick. Like, what
You can't
the,
say, how are you going
why?
to share a game? They said they put it in a bowl for me. No.
You ever tried chicken on a drumstick?
Oh, God. Yeah, the one that loves chicken.
Chicken's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm going to rewatch this a million times, just like Letterkenny. I feel like this may be even more accessible than Letterkenny because it's so squarely about hockey.
That's the question I was going to ask. Do you think someone who's seen no Letterkenny could watch this and enjoy it?
I think so. I
Yes.
think you could win over somebody. If you've got a hockey nerd friend who hasn't watched Letterkenny, I think Shoresy'd win him over.
I mean, it has the same barrier to entry Letterkenny has with just the language of it and the speed of
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
you're going to want to watch these with subtitles the first time around.
It's
until you
in
get used to
English,
it.
and I watch it with subtitles. Yeah, English with the
Is-
air
What
quotes
if you
to it.
were trying to get a friend into F1? Do you think you could use the hockey aspect of this show to, like, find a
Okay.
backdoor metaphor?
Kyle,
and
if you bring up F1 one more time on this episode, I swear to God, it will affect our friendship.
It's a small town with a one racetrack outside of it, and it's like AAA, and it's where they send the kids to learn F1, and we call it FU.
not effort, Kenny.
There's 5,000 people in FU. Their problem is turning left.
No, they do have to do some change around on Shoresy's character because he is a full functioning person and a
right, which he
three-dimensional
is,
character.
he is not. Yeah, he is not in the other ones. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, but that's a necessary change to like make this show or around him work.
They give him a little bit of Wayne.
The choice to make him, like, where they have to round out his full person emotions and everything, they make him a complete sap
Yes.
about a handful of things.
Yep.
Like when they do, I think it's the
He
second or
cries
third
at the
episode,
national anthem.
and yeah, and they're singing "O Canada," and like he's just bawling.
Yep.
And like there's a couple of every time they bring up, there's several things that like you just see him like,
We're gonna fold. No.
no, we're gonna lose.
Look, if we're gonna fold, could you tell me now so I can get most of my crying done before she gets here?
She a talk to me, and me a talk to she. When the day is coming that we must meet personally. She a talk to me, and me a talk to she. When the day is coming that we must meet personally.
Are y'all ready for dessert?
What's dessert?
We're it's
It's
double
half
desserts from
dessert
Disney
for
Plus.
some of us.
It's half desserts for some of you. So we're starting with Miss Marvel, which we talked about last week, which I loved, and I thought the second episode was just as good.
The second ep was better.
The second episode was even better for me.
Yeah,
Really?
better
Okay,
better for me.
interesting. Well, I mean, we sort of know what the show's gonna be about a little bit more.
Well, also it nails what the Sam Raimi movies try to do with superpowers, and what a lot of movies try and do when a kid, like a quote unquote kid, is supposed to get a power, and she plays with it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, not trains. She just plays
Yeah.
with it. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, no one ever gets this right, and this show got it. Her like training on accident because she's having fun playing with these powers, trying to figure out how they work. Because that would be the first thing any of us would do if we ever got a thing that was like gave us superpowers, is we'd fucking play with it immediately. And like fuck up everything. I love that, like, you gotta let me go, and she's like 5 feet away from another
Yeah,
like ledge.
Yeah.
Or that.
Yep.
Also, her confidence of coming back when she has powers. When she comes back
Oh,
into the
man.
school, she rules the roost. She's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't want to tell you, but all these years you've been mispronouncing my name. It's Kamala."
What a great callback that was. I love that whole sequence. And then the little bit where she bumps into Cameron,
mm-hmm.
Yep.
who, by the way, I knew was going to be in this because I saw him credited in the IMDb. He's a notable character from the comics. They're doing some interesting stuff with him, and I really like that character. I feel for poor Bruno, because poor Bruno's
Yeah.
been here the whole time. He is
Dude,
so obviously in love with her, and everyone but her sees it.
Yeah.
Bruno gets shoved out of the scene when he comes
Yeah.
around. Like you can
Yeah.
almost see the character
Yeah.
go like, what the fuck? I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yep.
when he gets offered by the guidance counselor, they're like, "Hey, you're going to California for this thing," and I love when the guidance counselor's like, "Are you familiar with
Movies?
Have you seen
Any-
a movie?
any movie?
Have you
Have
ever
you
seen
seen a movie?
a movie?" Like you think he's gonna name one? You're like, oh yes, no, I have seen some movies. Yes, like
I gotta
great.
tell you guys, Gabe Wilson, the guidance counselor, is an original character. He's not. He's an homage to the writer.
He's awesome.
He is great. I love that character.
Yeah, no,
So
he's
you know
great.
that point in a movie where they like, and he names, I forget one other one where like, where they says you're a Jedi son, or
Yeah.
you get, and he goes into very specific detail about the Devil's Wears Prada,
Del
Yes.
Prada, and he's like, "I'm your Meryl Streep," which I'm
and
like,
I'm Meryl
you-
Streep.
could you be a little more queer coded? Could you just a
Like-
little bit?
Like I think he just like, oh, but we can't actually have him suck a dick on screen, I guess, but
But there will be no question that this man is gay.
no.
Yeah. I really like seeing them beef up Nakia's role, her sort of Muslim bestie,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
again, in the comics she has a very notable story. I'm hoping they go that direction. I don't.
Well,
know
I
if they're
like
going
that
to or
they
not.
mentioned because she's lighter skinned, and I didn't think they were going to mention
Mhm.
it, but
Yeah,
they go into it of like why she wears the hijab, and she's too ethnic for some people and not ethnic enough, and how awkward that is. And
Yep.
she explains to Kamala where she got her confidence from the hijab, and,
Yep.
and it was a great thing of like that gave her power, and the bangle's similar for Kamala of like why she's feeling like herself, like
They're-
for
they're-
finally.
they're not shying away from showing the Muslim aspect of this. Like I love them showing
Yeah.
the inequality inside the mosque and talking about that. And her running for the mosque council gave us not only to give it one of my favorite sequences of the episode, but
Yeah.
also it's such a cool plot as a subplot of like,
Yeah.
oh, that's really good. But like the Illuminantes and all the other groups that they
Illuminant.
identify,
Oh, I love
I
that.
loved
Illuminantes.
all of
Yes.
that. Yep. I think that
They
this
know everything.
someone online said this, and I think this is true, is that even if there were no superpowers, if this was just a family drama show or
This would
family
be a
comedy,
great teen show.
it would work. I mean, this compares well to Never Have I Ever. I look at
No,
this and
yeah.
I'm like, it's just as
Yes,
funny and clever and
yes.
And
heartfelt. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was in the first episode of like, I'm enjoying this, but this is just a really good family comedy.
Dude,
And it didn't get enough into the powers for
put
me.
this dad character in other shows. I will watch
Yeah.
this dad.
The
like-
second episode started to solidify it for me.
Yeah.
When they basically, it's like everyone in his life communicates him via guilting, because Kamala, like a best friend, is like, you wouldn't rob the chance of two women, your daughter, and basically your second daughter. Like, well, but he's running. He's my best friend. I've like known him for years. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm not saying it would destroy your daughter or anything, but whatever.
When
Like-
when he's painted green for the wife in the first
Yes,
episode,
yeah.
and like the lengths your dad is going to
To try to reach you. Yeah.
just to try to be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. But also, like you said, Liz, I think the second episode does deal more to the powers thing. We see her training sequences. We see the rescue that she fucks up. And then we see damage control actually going after her. And I don't know. And she's dealing with her origin stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know where they're going with this because in the comics it's very different. And I love kind of like
Yeah.
what Moon Knight did, where it's like it's of a piece with what goes on in the comics, but it is very much its own
Yeah.
thing.
Only like with Miss Marvel, there's really only like with Moon Knight, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 different. I mean, like depending on what 10 years
Yeah.
of Moon Knight you look at, you get a very different Moon Knight. And with Miss Marvel, they don't really have that, and yet they're still doing just as good a reinvention.
Yeah.
It's a same thing of like the writers obviously sat down and like, okay, well, her character isn't based off the Inhuman thing. We can get around that. The story is about something around that. That's just where her powers come from. That can be from anything.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the core idea of it is the same, it will still ring true.
I still think it's possible she's going to be an Inhuman.
They left the door open this episode.
that-
There was like a
because that-
throwaway
If they
line.
make
that
her anything,
unlocked-
they'll make her a mutant. They're done with Inhumans. They don't
I
want
don't think
anything to
they
do
are.
with Inhumans anymore.
I don't think they are. Not after Spider-Man No Way
Nope,
Home.
nope.
I
The
think.
last one you'll
Yeah,
see is Black
and-
Bolt, who got his fucking head exploded.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Doctor Strange. Yeah. No, I think I think everything's back on the table with the multiverse concept. I think they're willing to say, "Hey, you remember that thing that we fucked up, but you kind of like the idea of? It's there, but it's better." That's a really smart thing to do because then they can use everything, use every
I
part of the
guess.
buffalo. So, I mean, it would make sense if she's an Inhuman and the bracelet unlocked that coding, or an Eternal, or whatever else. They can do that. And so I think there may be more to that.
Okay, I believe they make her an Inhuman before they make her an Eternal. It's going to be a while before we see any Eternal shit.
I'll take that bet.
But I think the thing is, if that's like a Kree artifact of some kind that unlocked Inhuman DNA or whatever, that ties her in further to Carol Danvers, who got her powers from the Kree.
Oh, fuck, that would tie her into the Skrull thing that's about to go on, too.
Yeah. So I think it's possible. I don't know, but I'm loving how much this is about her origin.
Well, the original
by the way, she got
Captain Marvel was a Kree warrior that visited planets, and that's how the original Captain Marvel got her powers. So maybe like that they're doing a riff on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
The one of the bits that I really enjoyed from this episode was when we saw somebody get hurt from her powers, which they did a little bit in the Shazam movie. I thought that was probably the best I've seen it, because if a kid's going to have powers, like, they're probably going to maybe not do something dumb, but they're going to make mistakes because they're kids. And we get to see in this episode where she's like trying to, save another kid, and she is successful, but probably like fucks up that kid's leg or his ankle or something.
Well, honestly, that kid, when he was taking that picture on that selfie up there, I'm like, okay, that kid signed his own death warrant. Anything other than death is better than he deserves.
When he's hanging off the curtain screaming, "Why did I do this? I was stupid. I was dumb."
But no, imagine like if they had some balls and they just like, "Oh no, I dropped the kid." Because like, it's one thing making platforms when you can look up and see where they're at, but like, how could she see to do all those platforms so low? Like, I'm just saying, in real life, if she had a Kree bracelet and was making platforms for the first time, that kid would be dead.
Sure.
At least Gwen Stacy'd.
I think that would have made for a very dark show.
No, I like the artistic choice here.
So yeah, I'm loving Miss Marvel. It's probably going to wind up being my favorite Marvel show of the year. It's going to be maybe close to my favorite show of the year. Again, I'm super in the tank for it. I shouldn't not be counted on for this, but I'm really enjoying it. Let's jump over and talk about the penultimate Obi-Wan, which I think, Les, you've not seen any of.
Nope.
And don't care.
What's it about?
There's this guy on a sand planet.
I'm fucking with you.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Let me talk to you about Tatooine. It's this planet. Actually, I am pleased how little this took place on Tatooine.
So
that was a good choice. Although we may be going back.
Bookended by sand.
Of course, we can never escape.
I thought this latest episode was really good. I like the early days of the rebellion when they are just about to get just utterly crushed all the time.
I thought it was better than last episode, which was pretty piss poor in my opinion. But
really,
well, the last one was just ridiculous. Like with Obi-Wan's force powers going all over the place. I'm not good with the force, but yet I can hold back a turn around. No, we're talking about this episode. This episode does a thing of where they finally give the youngling backstory of what's her name, the third sister.
Yeah, Reva.
Yeah, I was like, oh, is that all? Like, I was expecting more from that story.
I did. Well,
same. They held it back for long enough that I thought there was going to be more to it. I think
they did give us more, because I feel like the thing that I guessed was that she was from one of those younglings, but I always assumed she escaped and they caught her and brainwashed her, and that's why she's an Inquisitor. So to find out, no, she was there and she actually watched and has been like kind of plotting her revenge this whole time. It's like a secondary path to the dark side.
Which also doesn't fucking make any sense.
Make a stab in the dark here. So they're going to go back and digitally change it so that Padme gave birth to triplets.
And one of them was black.
Third sister?
No. They were supposed to have triplets, but one died. So they said, "I'm not leaving this hospital without another kid." So that's why one of the Skywalkers is black.
And because they were Skywalkers, they could just like.
Yeah.
I waited my entire life to get this revenge, and then she, at the first glance, Kenobi like gives her a sloppy plan to get it done, and she jumps at it. And which was what was the plan there?
I don't know what the plan
to
was.
wait until Vader was like distracted, but then you waited way too long.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think the idea was that he knew Vader was going to pull down the ship. So he's like, well, at least if we can have a decoy ship, we can tire him out.
Also, how did he
So he
know
wouldn't be
that?
able to pull down 2 ships. The Force!
No, but no one knows Vader can take that's something we've never seen him do before, is take down an entire fucking ship.
But Obi-Wan would
Anakin
know
didn't do that?
Obi-Wan would absolutely know that he could do that.
Yeah, I also think they were really trying to run that contrast with the fight flashback scene, and how the same way that Obi-Wan won that fight was how he got them off the planet in this episode.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that
was
was
like
subtle.
that strategy. Yeah, just a little bit. I gotta say, the one part of the show that like really gets me is because that actress that plays Leia is so freaking cute.
Yep.
I just think of like this guy having to take care of his friend's kid, but then he can't like his best friend. He can't let him see the kid because he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, literally, and just like emotionally, what like the context of that just is wrecks me.
No,
Yeah.
Leia and Obi-Wan themselves work as characters. I just think that the writing around it is like, again, it's the problem of the in-between quills of like, well, we can have Leia here, but she definitely can't interact with Vader in any way. And we can have these things like, so certain characters need to live, but these other characters don't show up later, so they gotta die. And
I feel like in A New Hope, her line to Vader, like, I thought I smelled you, like that kind of insinuates that she
she's
had
know-
an
yeah, she
experience
knows
with
he-
him.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think so too. Also,
right.
I like the desperate, like the rebels are going to get wiped out thing, and I think they played that well here. I thought the sacrifice
The
of
rebels are always
Ta-
about to get wiped out. No matter what Star Wars thing you're watching, the rebels are always a step away from destruction.
I thought the sacrifice of Tana and her droid was really, really good.
Oh,
They're so
yeah.
good at
Oh,
making
I
us
didn't
care
care.
about these. Oh man, I
I
disagree.
got it.
I cared more about the robot,
Yep.
actually. I was like, oh,
The
that's kind
robot.
of
That's
sad.
what I'm talking.
That's
what I'm
what
talking
sold
about.
it
The
for me.
robot. Yeah.
No, but I mean
Yeah.
the girl. But even then, I don't. Still, it's kind of like a pet. And then I didn't know the other girl almost at all.
So is next episode the last episode
Yeah.
of the season?
Yeah,
So
that is great.
Whoa, for real.
I would bet that kind of like this is where the gun came from in Solo. I bet if Leia meets Vader, they make a point of the way he smells.
Maybe. They've not been quite that. on the
Remember
nose
that
in this.
line? No.
Or maybe she sees cinnamon buns on the Death Star and she's like,
Ooh,
hairstyle.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
I tell you
I
what
actually-
does work is all of the Vader shit. The Vader shit is like where they put most of the that fight he has with his sister, where it's like he's just playing with her.
Yeah.
This isn't a real serious fight for him.
Did you notice the 2 cinematography things they did with Vader that I have never seen before? They did the reflection of hyperspace in his mask.
Yep.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. And this one is way easier. I don't know why we've never seen this, but they did the reflection of his mask in the glass on top of like the planet they were looking at.
Mhm.
No, they definitely have done that before. They did that in Revenge of the Sith
Oh, actually, I mean, maybe in this.
when they're looking at the Death Star.
Oh,
okay.
actually, yeah,
All right.
you're right. But both of those worked to like really great effect. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, just having a fun time with
It also
this.
sold me on why they left the third sister, because they just disregard her so much. It's like a slap in the face. Like, we're not even going to bother finishing you off. But I tell you what, that her finding that little holocron thing has just enough information to get her to Tatooine, and I love that they had to give it to Kumail Nanjiani's character, because it's like, well, if we have Obi-Wan drop it, that makes him look like a fucking moron. So
Yep.
let him give his lightsaber and his most prized possession to a complete fucking moron, so that he can drop it, and that way Obi-Wan doesn't look stupid. Which
Yeah.
I'm like,
Better than
nope,
Jar Jar
he's
Binks.
He's stupid by relation. He's stupid by the transitional property. Why the fuck did he didn't even trust that guy at all. Why would he give him the most sensitive information in the fucking galaxy?
Because you know why?
Because he had to drop it in that third part. He had to drop it, and they didn't want Obi-Wan to drop it.
No, this makes so much sense. Of all the people in that base, do you know who's most likely to survive? It's the guy who's going to run. That guy was the guy who was going to live and get out of there.
Right, that's the problem. That's the problem, is that he's not trustworthy with that information. He would skedaddle and get out of there.
But he's going to survive as opposed to dying and dropping the lightsaber.
Why
That's
didn't he give that shit to Leia?
Because she's probably going to die because she's too heroic.
You know,
Then it doesn't
Kamal
matter.
Nanjiani's character reminds me of like somebody you meet at a coffee shop who's pretending like they worked for Greenpeace, and then a guy's like, "No, I'm really in Greenpeace,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna give it a try." But they show up and they're just worthless. Like that's what he is. He's like, "Oh no, I think I could do this for real."
I tell you this, we are going to get to Kamal Nanjiani is going to have a heroic moment in the last episode, and then he's going to die.
Yeah.
So, I'm actually really digging this. It's, however, my least favorite of all the Star Wars shows they've done. So yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Wait,
but
even with Book of Boba Fett,
Book of Boba Fett had some problems, but when it worked, it really worked.
But it had a cool couple episodes of The Mandalorian in it, so I don't know how you rank it.
It had some good Mandalorian stuff, and also, honestly, all the stuff with the Sand People I thought was really good. They just dropped the ball on it. Plus, he fucking wrote a Rancor, man. That's cool. There's a lot of cool shit, and it makes up for a lot of it. So
that's the
yeah.
first thing I think of, and then the second one is the Power Ranger teens.
I love the biker gang.
What I liked most about this show, they're not really doing anymore, which was the Empire being your neighbor, like the Trump asshole of like, you can't trust anyone in this galaxy.
Right, but I think they made that point. That I didn't think they wanted to belabor that.
Right, but we went back to stuff we've already seen, which is the rebels trying to flee a base by flying out of something real quick.
Yeah, that's fair. Star Wars does know what it likes. All right, that'll wrap it up for this week. Thank you, Les, Kyle, and Nick.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, dudes.
You're welcome.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. Reminder that you can go to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us that $1 an episode. Listen to us talk about Nicolas Cage movies as I slowly go further and further into madness. And also listen to us play D&D. There's all kinds of good content over there. And until next week,
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
to find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.